Good morning, soldiers. Today we're going to take a look at some of the weapons featured in Battlefield 4 as seen in the 17-minute reveal trailer. So if you have not seen this 17-minute gameplay reveal trailer, you're doing yourself a disservice. Go click the link in the description to go check this thing out. It tells you a lot about how they are stepping up their game when it comes to Battlefield 4. It also tells us a little bit about some of the weapons that we can expect when it comes to Battlefield 4. And I'm just going to tackle this chronologically as we see it in the trailer. So the first weapon to reveal itself is definitely a fan favorite from Battlefield 3. We have the MP412 Rex. Now the Rex is a cool little Russian double-action .357 Magnum revolver. It's a rare and troubled weapon, especially considering that it's never seen full production, mostly because its largest potential market, being the United States, is closed due to a ban of importing of firearms from Russia to the United States. But that doesn't stop it from being popular in the gaming world. As we've seen, it was very popular in Battlefield 3, and I predict it's going to be very popular in Battlefield 4.
Bullshit, man, you hear me? Shoot out the window or you all die!
The next weapon to be featured should definitely seem familiar because it was one of the most widely used assault rifles from Battlefield 3. It's the M16A3. Now there's a couple different reasons that we are identifying this as the M16A3 and not the M16A4 and not the M4. The M4 has a retractable buttstock, which this does not, and the M16A4 does not have a fully automatic fire mode, which is what is featured with this weapon. It may be difficult to tell at first because the player is actually burst firing the weapon, but they're not going in 3-round intervals. And the only variants of the M16 to have fully automatic fire are the M16A1, which this is definitely not, and the M16A3. The others have 3-round burst mode, not fully automatic. Now the next weapon to be featured is a little tricky because we only get a quick glimpse of it. But based off of what I can see, it appears to be an FNP45. Now a lot of people scream out the name Glock when they see that squared metallic slide and the polymer frame. It's very Glock-like. But based off of the color scheme, my bet is going to go with the FNP45. Maybe it's wishful thinking. The next weapon was also pretty tricky because with some of these weapons, there are very minute differences. And with this one, it came down to the size of the barrel, which is a little difficult to measure in a trailer. But I thought it was the enhanced version of the M4 designed by Colt at first, and it turns out that many people are saying it is the HK416, which I can believe because it does look like a little bit longer of a barrel, but as I said, in a trailer, it's difficult to measure. Both weapons are very similar, and both weapons were featured in Battlefield 3, so I think we can expect both of them to be featured in Battlefield 4. The next weapon we get a really good look at when Iris throws it over his shoulder, and we see that it's an M249, but it's the Para variant. And we can tell that it's the Para variant because it's the only variant to feature a retractable buttstock, and we can tell that the barrel is shorter. It's about 2 inches shorter than your average M249. Now what's interesting about this variant is that it was specifically designed for airborne troops. So there might be some paratrooping scenes in Battlefield 4, which is really exciting. Otherwise, it doesn't make much sense for him to be carrying around this variant because it would have markedly increased recoil, but it is a lot lighter. So maybe he just likes the lighter M249. But if you ask me, I think we're going to see some paratrooping scenes due to seeing this variant in the trailer. Now our next weapon has been tricking a lot of people. It looks like the Remington 870 at first, but there are a lot of differences. I first thought it was the Remington 870 Express Tactical with the pistol grip, but there are a couple things that threw me off from that. One, it only has 3 rounds, and 2, it's a lot shorter. It turns out that it's actually something called the Super Shorty, manufactured by Serbu Firearms, and it usually uses the Mossberg receiver, but it can use the Remington 870 receiver. It's something new to the Battlefield series, and it's going to be interesting to see how players implement this weapon. Now our next weapon to be featured comes directly after this, and this is an interesting one. This is the Milker MGL, or as it's designated by the Marines, the M32 MGL. This is a very interesting but very devastating multi-purpose grenade launcher that's in use by the Marines, and with the ability to shoot 3 40x46mm grenades per second, it's going to be very interesting to see how this translates in game, especially if we see it in multiplayer. But moving on. This next weapon I don't want to spend too much time on because I think it's going to be very situational on how we see and use this in the game, but it's the PK machine gun. It's a 7.62mm general purpose machine gun that I think we're just going to see mounted on different vehicles throughout the game. Maybe a multiplayer, but we'll have to see. Now the next weapon we get a really good look at when the character here goes to knife the enemy, and this appears to be an AEK 971. And this should be no stranger to Battlefield fans. It was extremely popular in Battlefield 3. Now the reason I think it's the 971 variant is it has that iconic buttstock, but you know, there are other variants to the AEK, including the 972 and the 973, which fires the more powerful caliber. So there are some wrenches that they can throw into the AEK to make it different from what we saw in Battlefield 3. Now the final weapon that we see in the trailer is also going to seem familiar because it's the M320 grenade launcher. It's a very lightweight, very versatile grenade launcher made by Heckler & Koch that is making a return from Battlefield 3. Here you can see the player shooting down a helicopter in a ridiculous Hollywood-esque scene here that I don't think is going to be recreated in multiplayer anytime soon. But Battlefield 3 noob tubers rejoice, you will see this weapon again in Battlefield 4. So that concludes the weapons that can be seen in the 17-minute gameplay reveal trailer. Please note that this is just the first trailer that they've released of the gameplay, so this isn't going to be all the weapons that are featured in Battlefield 4. It's just a small, very familiar taste of what we can expect. If you enjoyed this video, I would appreciate a favorable rating, but that's all I have for this video. This is Sergeant Merrill, out here.